Welcome to Chapter 2. We are going to be talking about the project management and information technology context. So, we would be defining the systems view of project management and how it applies to information technology projects. We'll talk about organizations, the four frames, the structures, and the culture. We would also talk about why stakeholder management and the top management's commitment are critical for the success of a project. We would also differentiate between the project and the product's life cycle and talk about the diverse nature of IT projects, as well as summarize the trends, the recent trends that affect IT project management. Now, let's talk about a systems view of project management. Project managers need to use what is known as systems thinking. A systems thinking describes the holistic view of carrying out projects. When we say holistic view, what do we mean? It means taking into account every aspect of something, not just one aspect of that thing. Let's use a person, for example. Okay, when you have to take a holistic view of someone, it means you are taking into account every aspect of that person's need, whether it's a psychological need, a physical need, a social need, or even a spiritual need. You are providing support that looks at the whole person and not just one aspect of that person's need, but their well-being in general. So this is how to take a holistic view at something. Okay, so the systems thinking describes the holistic view of carrying out projects. Okay, so when we talk about systems approach, simply put, it is a method of organizing and managing project activities in a manner that is organized and systematic. And it has three parts, which includes the system philosophy, systems analysis, and systems management. The systems philosophy describes a systems approach as an overall model for thinking about things as systems. Now, these systems are sets of components that interact and work within an environment to meet a purpose. And then the system analysis is a problem-solving approach. This problem-solving approach requires defining the scope of a system and then dividing it into components, identifying and evaluating its problems, its opportunities, its constraints, and the needs. After then, possible solutions for improving the situation at hand are come up with and examined against the whole system. And then the system management addresses organizational issues that are associated with creating, maintaining, and making a change to a system. So using the systems approach is critical to a successful project management. Top management and project managers must follow a systems philosophy to understand how projects relate to the whole organization. There is a three-sphere model for systems management. So in order to manage a project successfully, the business, organizational, and technological aspects, as well as the issues related to that project, need to be properly defined and taken into consideration. Okay, so you can see from this model that there are various concerns that are associated to each of these spheres. The business sphere has its own concerns in the form of questions, as shown. The organization, same, and the technology also has its own concerns as well. So this is a three-sphere model for systems management. Okay, so it's difficult to understand the various technologies and that an organization uses. Okay, so imagine how much more complex it would be to understand the business and organizational aspects. So how do you conquer this? There are three things you can do. You can, first of all, make it a priority to learn about each of these aspects of the organizations each day. You take it slowly, make it a priority. Don't focus on just one aspect, but you can learn bit by bit about each of the aspects. You can do that for a start, and then you can talk to other people that you work with. Talk to your boss, talk to people that you work with, so that you can understand how the organizations work. And how can you achieve this? You can achieve this by asking important questions that are relevant. Ask important questions that can make you understand how an organization works. And then network. It is very vital to network. Try to network with people from inside and outside of your organization, as this can help you in developing a systems approach and would also help you to go far in your career once you have gotten an understanding of the big picture. Now, understanding organizations. So the systems approach requires that project managers always view their projects in the context of the larger organization. So the organization issues are the most difficult part of working on and managing projects. Therefore, it is important for project managers to develop a better understanding of people and the organization as well. This way, the success rate of IT projects will be improved. There are 4 frames of an organization. According to Bolman and Deal, these 4 frames are different lenses for understanding an organization. So that means you can view situations from 4 different perspectives. So this 4-frame approach allows you to become a more flexible manager and leader. You would feel confident that you have taken all perspectives into consideration when making a decision. Now, these 4 frames consist of the structural frame, the human resources frame, the political frame, and the symbolic frame. Now, the structural frame assumes that division of labor and specialization enhances productivity. This frame focuses on the existing structure of an organization or hierarchy. Coordination and control is important with this frame. The political frame is about power. It assumes that decisions and change do not take place unless the key stakeholders and interest groups are involved in the decision-making process. Therefore, conflict could arise as a result because people start to struggle for positions in the organization. The human resource frame focuses on the organization's people. It assumes that the organization will be successful if it meets the needs of everyone that works there. So leaders using the human resource frame focus on the needs of employees as well as their individuality, their morale, as well as their motivation. So team members have access to training and skill development, and therefore a culture of empowerment is created through doing this. The last but not the least, which is the symbolic frame, focuses on vision and inspiration. The leaders using this frame help their teams to create meaning from confusion when they experience tough times. They recognize the importance of meaning and satisfaction to people. People want to find meaning. They make use of symbols, roles, rituals, as well as shared values to create bonds and also to assist others to understand events that take place and celebrate milestones. So when analyzing a situation, consider each of the 4 frames and what you can learn from each of them. And then you decide how you want to approach the situation. Now, a survey has been carried out, and the success and failure of 214 IT projects over an 8-year period was examined in several European countries. So it was discovered that only 1 in 8 were considered successful when it comes to meeting scope, time, and the cost goals. So, which means that there have been a lot of failure in IT projects. And it also didn't stop there. It was discovered that culture is often to blame for this, the culture that exists within many organizations. So, amongst many other things, people do not often discuss about leadership, risk management, and stakeholder issues. Okay, so there are three basic organization structures, but before we talk about that, let me mention that organizational culture, let's define it. Organizational culture consists of all the beliefs, the values, and attitude in an organization and how they influence the behavior of the employees. So we can say that organizational culture defines the appropriate way to behave within an organization. These beliefs and values are established by the leaders and reinforced through different methods. Thereby, the perceptions and behaviors of the employees are shaped. Okay, so there are three basic organizational structure. Moving on. We have the functional, we have the project, and we have the matrix. The functional managers report to the CEO, the program managers report to the CEO, and then for the matrix structure, it is a middle ground between the functional and project structures. So the personnel in this structure often reports to two or more bosses. So this figure shows exactly how the organizational structures work. So just as it was stated in the previous slide, you can see the different managers that report to the CEO illustrated visually. And you can see that the project managers also report to the CEO under the project structure. And you can also see that the matrix has a mixture of the functional and project structure. So these are represented visually on this figure to show us how these structures work. So we already defined the organizational culture, and then there are different characteristics of an organizational culture. We have 10 given here. So a project work is most successful in an organizational culture where these characteristics are strong and balanced, where they have a high hold. Okay, so now focusing on the needs of stakeholders, it is important that project managers take their time to identify, understand, and manage relationships with all the project stakeholders. Okay, so using the 4 frames of organizations, which we have already talked about, can help to meet the needs and expectations of stakeholders. We already mentioned that top management are very important stakeholders. They are a very crucial people amongst the stakeholders. Now, let's discuss the importance of top management commitment. Okay, so like we said, the stakeholders in the top management positions are very important stakeholders. Okay, so a very important factor in helping project managers to successfully lead projects is the level of commitment and support is determined by the level of commitment and support that they receive from the top management. Okay, so if the top management is not committed or giving the required support, a lot of projects will fail. So projects have a senior manager that is called a champion who normally acts as a key proponent or supporter or advocate for a project. Now, the top management can help project managers in different ways by providing the adequate resources that are required, approving unit project needs in a timely manner. They can also help to get cooperation from the other parts of that organization, and they can also become mentors and coaches on leadership issues. So IT governance centers around ensuring that the organization knows what impact IT decisions we have on the business value. So IT governance focuses on IT performance and mitigating or reducing the risk that are associated with it. So a lack of IT governance can be very dangerous, and there has been evidences of this in 3 well-publicized IT projects that have failed in Australia. So these 3 projects have been listed, as can see on the slide. Okay, so now what is the need for organizational commitment to information technology? If an organization has a negative attitude towards ICT, it will be very difficult for for any IT project to succeed in that organization. So it is important to have a chief information officer at a high level in the organization, as this officer helps IT projects. And then assigning non-IT people to IT projects can also encourage more commitment. Now, you may wonder how a person that is not specialized in a particular area can excel or be committed to that area. Now, how does this work? Assigning a non-IT person would make that person to want to know more. It will make that person eager to learn. That person would want to research so that they can make positive contribution to that project. And in the process of doing this, that person becomes IT oriented. We'll continue this class on the next video.